building out that team.
Yeah.
And then once you have a team, at least you can which everyone sits in, which people sit in, which Burbs did great. You guys, I don't think you were in hell for too long, which was incredible.
From development to order, we were like 9 months, which is like very short.
That's very
Yeah.
short, which will sound long
Yeah.
to people. And that's
Yeah.
and like that's the thing of like you just want to claw your way out of there, because lots of things can go into development, but to actually get it made
Mm-hmm.
is a big in. And then I think honestly, then the biggest hurdle, and you and I talked about this a lot, then the biggest hurdle, which is like it's not even a hurdle because people are like, we don't hire diversity or things like that, is trying to get the right people hired and the right people casted. And you were so good about that with Rocky and your wife, of being like, I know, we're going to go back. We're going to figure this out.
Well, with
total credit.
For those who don't know, we cast Raki Mazari to play my wife, and she was a writer on the show. And Raki was so good because she changed our perception of the character. And then I noticed some people mentioning our kids. We were so lucky to find such amazing young performers. With that said, there were a lot of strong auditions. So it's a thing again where it's like these kids are now seeing themselves on the screen and are like, oh, I can become that. So we had a really good group of people there. For you, the role of Kathy Tan was written for a young Chinese woman who was taking over the business from her parents. And I'm just wondering, when you were preparing for the role, because you found a tone of Kathy in the audition that we actually kept, that might not have been what other people did in the audition. You gave her a bit of bite, and I'm asking, like, how did you find that in the character?
Yeah, I made her a bit dark and bitter. I think it's what you're saying. I read it and I was like, how do I make this character stand out? How do I make it different, right? Because it can be, and like I'm lucky enough that I've done I was Zoe on Private Eyes, and like she was very quirky and fun, and so I just didn't want to do that again. And so I was like, okay, I kind of sometimes when I get a script look for the joke, like where's the joke? Where's the really fun joke here? And for me, it was the ending of like that plop of like the end of the scene was like, I just plop a bubble tea on, being like, I know what you need, kid. And so I was like, well, who does that? And I was like, oh, one of those bartenders. And I just keep playing until I finally figured out, I was like, nah, it's this kid's driving her nuts. Like, like that girl that's like, this kid's driving me insane. Because it's the opposition of like a fun bubble tea place and a person who's a little hard knocks. That I thought was like, that brings something possibly different, an offer to you guys. And I sent you 2 takes. I sent you one where she was like happier and bubblier and what I thought was being asked for, and then what I thought actually like, but I think this is
Sam, I don't even know if I watched that other take.
That's okay. They probably
I feel like I watched the 1 take and I was like, nah, this is it. Like, I'm not moving off this. She did it. Let's move on.
That's the thing about casting, I think, and to anyone who's an actor out there, you can send 2 versions, and then casting, that actually allows casting to be like, oh, I think this is the one, and they send the right one that they think is right to, like Andrew, to the producer and stuff like that, on that way.
We have another special guest joining us, and this was actually, we had written a role of a neighbor on the show, and this actually changed because when we were looking at names and looking at people, CBC actually suggested our next performer joining us. And when you're building neighbors in the show, in the world, you just want to get the funniest people. And so I've been told that we assembled the Canadian Avengers, and it's Chris Locke right here, one of the hardest working, most hilarious stand-up comedians this country has produced. Chris, how you doing, brother?
What's up? How's it going? Okay, let me see those numbers go up now. Chris has joined. Let's go. Let's see who's jumping on. Who's jumping on to watch this exclusive? The 3 of us together again.
Chris, when you got the audition sides for this, what was your take on the character? What were you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, like, Sebastian seems kind of flighty, to put it mildly, and yeah, I just wanted to be likable, but also like, yeah, something's missing with this guy, you know?
So Chris plays my
Yeah.
neighbor Sebastian, and
Hmm.
Sebastian was always imagined as like that neighbor who was a bit shady. Like we wanted
Yeah.
shady neighbor who could get you like one of the early lines that got cut was you overhear you come in and you're like, oh, you need some birth certificates. How real does it have to be? And this guy can get you like a birth certificate, bulk aquariums. He could get you anything you needed. Like
Yeah.
he's the guy that can get it for you for $50.
I feel like when you guys saw me on camera for the first couple times, though, you were like, "Oh, we gotta dumb this down a bit."
No,
Or
never.
it's so funny, or like this guy definitely drinks milk. He just drinks milk. That's it. That's all he
Yeah, he
drinks.
drinks milk even though it really hurts his stomach every time.
we we no,
Yeah,
I think for us it was just trying to write to your voice because like you
yeah,
have a specific cadence of how you work. And I think you're at your most funny when you feel like you can play in the character. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah. Well, there's that for sure, and also like the energy level of each character is kind of like on a rainbow, like a spectrum. And by the time I got the feel of all of you guys working on set, uh, I was like, okay, I'm down here, and I found my
Yes.
space. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That totally makes sense because I felt the same with Kathy. Also, Roman
Yeah.
joined and I just want to say hi, Roman, is Andrew's son. But I
Cool.
felt the same with Kathy because like a lot of people are very high energy, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
I gotta help bring. I gotta be the other side here then too. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's kind of what I felt too. It's like when you see Sebastian, like he's gonna slow it down a bit because his brain is not firing as fast as like the family's brain is going, you know? So I tried to be like, when the camera hits me, I'm like, mm-hmm, just kind of.
Yeah, no,
But
I feel like with Kathy, hers is like to just give cut eye for a while, just so that it allows you guys to like panic. It allows you guys to do a lot of reactions as I just stare at you, and so
Yeah,
the
I
other
love
characters
it.
get to be like, ah, like
We had some definitely good moments of you being like, "You're the stupidest guy I've ever seen," but I really enjoy that.
if you watch episode four, Sebastian uh is has a love interest, and we break it down at
Hmm.
Bubble Bay Cafe, where the three of us and some other characters are brought together, and there's some really nice bits with it. And Chris, I find with your character, it first it became so easy because like so easy to bring this character into the world. Like as the season goes on, you're Andrew's friend, you're his buddy that Andrew hangs out with during the day. You show up in like family events and such, and so we really welcome like, and that was how we envisioned the character, this neighbor that didn't have a family, but we took him in as part of our family.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait for the Lunar New Year episode to come out finally because it's really fun. And I won't give it away, but shooting that scene near the end there, it's a really beautiful scene with everybody. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
those who are watching, we shot a Lunar New Year episode, which won't air around Lunar New Year. I know it's because the show takes place in a year of the family, and so by the fourth episode, we're only in September because we start the year in July, so we couldn't make the jump from September to February. Like we'd be missing so much. Um, so yeah, and then Sam, like Kathy as a character, like what did you discover? Because I know you and I have chatted a couple times, so without giving any spoilers away, there were moments where you and I were like riffing on like a storyline or an idea, and we're like, "Oh, we discovered something about the character." So you had an idea of the character coming in, but then what did you discover playing the character?
I discovered a couple things. Also, someone also asked a great question that I also wondered too, Andrew, which
Yeah,
I want to come back around to, which is like, why did you decide to use your name or pretty much your first name for it? But I'll
oh
answer
yeah,
your question and then we'll come
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Which is with Kat. So some things I discovered with Kathy. One, I pitch my voice down when I play her.
mhm.
I actually speak lower to
Oh,
like when I'm on set.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
I didn't, and I had to find that in my first day. And in the beginning, eventually, eventually one of our directors was like, do you just speak a little lower sometimes? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then I was just like, oh, I guess I will. That's her then. And so she has a deeper whisper. That was the thing I had discovered about her that kind of really helped me tap into the sarcastic thing. And then like as we were figuring things out in the script, and as I was like talking in this lower place, I was like, oh, she's a woman of few words. Like she doesn't add a lot of things in. And so I would always come to you guys and be like, guys, I don't think she would say this extra bit here or like this extra little bit here. That was like a thing I had. That's a thing that I had discovered, and I give credit to you guys to be so open to be like, yeah, let's change that in some way. It's just like, no, she's to the point and she's quite dry.
No, you speak lower as Kathy, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I noticed that. I noticed that in every edit because we go back and we watch every episode 30 times and like go through the cut. Yes, you speak lower as Kathy, use less words, and you often love to just punchline it. Like you're just like punch.
Yes.
And when you approached us and you approached Scott, my co-creator on the show, and you were just like, yeah, and we're like, okay. Like for us, I think because I'm a performer and because I spent 5 years playing Kimchi, this character, coming into this show, I had such an appreciation of what performers bring to the role. And so if I'm going to bring in Samantha Wan and Chris Locke, who you are so strong in the things you do, you have a process, you have a comedic voice. I want you on the show as what you bring. So I don't want to change that. And if you have a feeling towards something, then yeah. And so I want to go to Chris, but then I will answer your question. I don't know. It just early on, we were gonna go with my full real name, Andrew Phung, was gonna be the Phungs. And what was like an early title of the show was around like Phung being like the pun. So like fun with Phung, having Phung. Like that was like some early titles.
You also, there was one that was hilarious where you're like, here we go again or something, or this something. There was a long time.
Yeah, there was a long one. It was called Never Give Up on Your Stupid Dreams. Was an early title for the show. Never Give Up on Your Stupid Dreams was an early title. It's along the lines of How I Met Your Mother. It's like, that's the idea. Never give up on your stupid dreams, because it's a show about a family chasing their dreams. But then we found Run the Burbs. And then I was going to go Andrew Phung, and the writers were like, Andrew, don't use your last name Phung, because you need a degree of separation. And then I don't know what it was. We just kept Andrew. And I think it was also because the show was so centered around, it was a project for me that it made sense. And I wanted, like, it had some connection to who I am as a father. So we kept it. But then Pham, because Pham is statistically the third most popular Vietnamese last name. But then Pham opened us up to like 1 million puns.
Of course.
So that's how it was. I want to work over to Chris here, and you have toured the country as a stand-up, and you have been on so many television shows. But I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like the first time you've had a chance to sit in a character for an extended period of time. Is that right?
Yeah, this is the best. This is the most time I've been on a show as a recurring character, and yeah, I got to hang out on set so much. So yeah, I really love it. It was a great experience, and everybody involved in the show is just like a really cool, nice person, and it was an excellent experience. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm like a comedian first, I'm a comedian first, so I'm always making my own stuff first, and sometimes that makes acting stuff go on the back burner. And when people ask me to do stuff, I of course try to do my best and jump on. But yeah, I've never really hungrily chased full on roles myself, so to be like just jumped into this thing and be a part of it, it was really cool.
But like it's so funny because like I wouldn't have guessed that, because like on set you were so respectful. You were always like, you were critical of yourself if you couldn't get a line right. And even when you approached me with like ideas, like you'd approach us, you're like, hey guys, like I want to switch up this line here. Like it was so respectful that like it just seemed like you had done this before. And that's what I was always like really happy about, because when you hire a stand-up, it's one with a voice, like you have a voice and a point of view.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if the person on the other end is a good human being, and you're like a good dude.
I'm a very good dude. Everybody watching, remember that. Yeah, but well, I've been on set since 2003.
Mhm.
Like if you're including like commercials and like sketch comedy and yeah, I've definitely been acting for a long time. It's just that this is my first real like home base kind of show where I get to come and show up and see. I mean, the closest otherwise would have been Baroness, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was on with those guys quite a bit, but and then you get to know the crew. But this was different. Yeah, this is the first recurring like character on a show. Yeah.
That shocks me because you're such a powerhouse on the set. I was just like, oh,
Thanks so much. Well,
it really is that. Yeah.
well, you guys are first of all too. So thanks. That's really nice. But also, yeah, I don't know. I do like. I guess taking back sort of what I said earlier. I do take acting seriously. Like I want to do my best. I've always been
Yeah.
working on it. But because with a stand-up comedy and writing and all that stuff, you know, I'm kind of impatient. So writing my own thing has always come first, and so I haven't like, you know, I've taken some acting lessons and stuff, but it's been second or third for me, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, the casting of you completely changed the character, and I say that in a good way because it totally put us on like it made us have to, and especially those first four episodes. So the people who watched the first four episodes, I'm so excited for you to see 5, 6, 7, 8 because like those first four episodes, we're like figuring out who the
Yeah.
characters are, what the world is, and then we get a sense of it, right? And so like the scene with the in episode 2 where you have the weed whacker is like
Hmm.
literally the first time I met you, like, you know, and
Yeah.
so we're trying to find that connection, but
Yeah, we
like
jumped right into that. And then when I watch that scene too, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm doing what the director keeps telling me to do. I feel like I wasn't 100% Sebastian yet.
yeah,
So like the rest of the show, I'm like, oh, here you go. This is Sebastian. I found him. He's in the groove. But yeah, that one we all just like jumped into the frying pan and started making it. And but
Yeah.
I talked to you about it before, Andrew. I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of like this, and you're like, but then you watch it, and it's like a 2 second scene where I'm like, what? And then like nobody's gonna notice. I mean, I shouldn't even been told the people
No,
watching
I
it.
feel like people, it's helpful. Like every show has a hard time. Like every show finds its legs when you
mm,
even watch them. And I just saw someone also ask you, Chris, like a really interesting question of like, do you find that acting helps your stand up, or like, or
Yeah, I mean, if you saw my stand up, like, yeah, I go all over the place. So if I'm imitating something, or yeah, I stick with it. And also, like, when I was a kid, I really liked Richard Pryor, and I always liked how
mm,
when Richard Pryor was executing a bit where he was impersonating like a family member or something, like he stayed in that family member until like the laughs died down, you know, and like, yeah, so I use all that stuff. All of it is, yeah. My stand-up's insane. It's not like real stand-up.
I can imagine
You'll
that.
you'll see. I got a special coming out on Crave soon that I filmed this summer and or last summer in Montreal, and maybe you'll get an idea. You'll be like, oh, this guy's nuts. But
well, if you are watching, you can go Google some of Chris Lock's stand up because I remember I saw a set like right away. I was like, oh, but I had seen you at Sled Island in Calgary years ago,
that's so cool. Which one was
and
that? Was that the one with Bridget Everett?
that's right. At that brick wall, there was a brick wall, and we were at this beautiful theater. We have a mutual friend, Evan Wilson, who curates like really great stand up, and I'd seen you do comedy, um, and it is wild. So as
I made her laugh like crazy in the green room because your good friend Jeff De Silva,
yeah,
he was doing guest spots on those shows too. And for some reason, like, you know, I always got a lot of energy before I go on stage. So I went up to him, and we've known each other on and off over the years. And I pretended to choke him and shoot him in the crotch. Sorry, guys. And I made the sound. I went, you know, really big and silly. And Bridget Everett was like, ah, and she couldn't stop laughing for like 10 minutes. So I was like, oh, that was cool.
is that her
What's your
kink?
special
Like,
called on
I
Crave,
think,
just so people can watch it?
what's that?
What's your
Oh,
comedy special gonna be called?
getting shot in the nuts is is the special.
Pew
Get
pew.
shot in the nuts with Chris Lock. I don't know what brought that out of me, but it made Jeff laugh too. But It's called Captain Bones, and you'll have to see why.
I mean, it's still pretty close to getting shot in the knife.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
close, man.
yeah, you're right. I'm obsessed. Yeah.
Sam, you've had an incredible few years. Like you co-created and you led your own series. You were a featured recurring character on Canada's highest rated comedy with Private Eyes, and then you moved to directing. Like, how are you doing all this? Like, how are you finding a balance? How are you finding a way and breaking all these walls down, and you're able to do everything right now?
I'm not coping very well. I'm not doing a good job.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I do have to give a shout out to, like, Carly was our showrunner. Same way that you have Shep. Like,
Yeah.
to, like, really run things behind the scenes. Carly Heffernan, who freaking also ran Second City at the same time. I don't understand that woman. And then Amanda Joy is also my co-creator. So, like, when you have partners, and I feel like you understand this, Andrew, like, that's the only way you can be the actor and a creator at the same time, is having, like, incredible partners in terms of that. And then it's a lot of fear, and maybe I just have a problem with running towards fear, like, and then just working through it. But even on Private Eyes, like, was super scared. I remember my first day on Private Eyes, and this is a fun fact, Run the Burbs is also shot in Private Eyes. And I was like, I might cry, because Private Eyes had just gotten canceled. And then I just went back to the same studio, and I was like, oh my gosh, my old home.
Yeah, you came with the lease. On the lease was like, must cast Samantha Wan in a series recurring. Like, she must be in every episode. I was like, okay. Something I could live with. It's on the papers.
Are you even a real person, or are you a ghost from that set?
I mean, maybe. Sometimes I feel like it. Like, just live
Not
there.
to humble brag, but I also think my wife jumped in and did some writing with your show for a bit, right?
She's story editor. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Chris Lack and I also have, like, a connection. Kathleen, like, was story editor on Second Gen for our third season, which I think was our best season.
Yeah, and that
That's
was,
cool.
I think that was the consensus. I think, like, a lot of viewers were saying that was the best season. It was the one where it felt like it was the most used. So I want to break down some names. Carly Heffernan is Second City alumnus, director, showrunner of Second Gen, is also showrunning a new series on Omni, Isabel Cannon show, I believe.
Oh, is she? I
think. I
don't
could be
know,
wrong.
but she's the artistic director of Second City.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah, artistic
she, like,
director.
runs
Yeah.
Second City, like, Toronto, Chicago.
Yeah. And then Kathleen
Wow.
Phillips, who is Chris Lock's wife, but also wrote on Mr. D, and is now writing on Children Ruin Everything, which is on CTV. And so you get to have double dose. Chris, you get to watch back-to-back shows that you guys were involved in every Wednesday.
It's cool seeing two different versions of how a family comedy is going right now in Canada. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, Kathleen being my wife is like her least good credit. She wrote on Working Moms for 3 seasons too, and all kinds of stuff. She's a brainiac. I'm a lucky duck.
Man, it must be so cool to be, like, a comedy couple. Yeah, imagine it's very cool.
Or just terrible, because you're always one-upping each other. Just terrible because no one can win. No one can just, like, ease up.
Our dynamic is more like I'm the one that needs to be funny, and she's the one that goes, yeah, yeah.
It really highlights, though, like, for, like, I've said it, like, I'm really trying to cultivate, like, collaboration in Canadian comedy, because, like, we're this industry really trying to, like, we have really great work right now. So, like, I give props to other shows. Like, we need to elevate. And so, like, with all these other shows in the world, like, I love seeing other creators doing their thing. And
yeah, Kurt created Children Ruin Everything, but a neat connector for both of you guys is both of you guys initially came from, like, dominating the Canadian improv scene, right? Like, you were huge in Alberta, and Kurt was always big here with his Catch-23 show and everything.
Yeah.
So there's a really good connector there with just Canadian improv and all that.
Well, it's like when people talk about networking, this is it here. It's like, I met Kurt. Kurt was writing on Kim's Convenience. Sam and I had never worked together, but we literally knew each other from being Asian. Being Asian was like, oh, that is an Asian creator. She is my friend. We are tight now.
Yeah, it's like we must hold on to each other like life ships. like,
Yeah.
like
And that really, it's really it. It's like this industry is so small. So when you find people that are funny and doing good things, and so when CBC was pitching you, Chris, we were just like, yeah, okay, let's look at Chris. Like they love you, man. They were referencing a Working Mom scene you did.
Yeah.
They're like, that clip is viral. We got to get this guy.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
then,
felt the vibe that you're talking about between you and Sam on set and everything, and yeah, I felt that vibe the whole time filming Run the Burbs. It is a real community supportive feeling. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. So yeah, he's not lying, everybody.
yeah, I'm really not like when Sam, like I find that Sam and I, we just have a lot of conversations about what we're trying to do with this family. You gave me a lot of feedback and advice on casting, getting the kids right, tone, character. Like you were always there, and like so that's why like I appreciated having you on set because not only are you playing this character really well, but you see it from a director point of view because you just directed a movie, you were directing a web series while shooting the show. Like yeah, you left at one point to go shoot a series, then come back.
I'm sorry, I did it twice to you.
Oh my god, I remember. Yeah, they'd come back and they'd be like, "Yeah, Sam's unavailable." We'd be like, what the fuck?" And they're like, "Yeah, she went to go shoot a series." I'm like, "Yeah, makes sense." So,
Wow.
But it was like honestly though, I'm so grateful to have you, Andrew, because it's so lonely trying to figure out these decisions, and you feel so much weight carrying them, and so much like you want to do it right, and you sometimes can't do it right, not because like you can't, just there's too many decisions or you're not sure, there is no right. And so you just like need another human being to be like, it's okay, there is no right, or like, no, I agree with you, that's right.
yeah.
Because you're just alone in the room being like, I hope I did it right. I hope I represented.
For the people watching right now, I'm chatting with Samantha Wan and Chris Locke, who are my co-stars on my new series, Run the Burbs. Run the Burbs is streaming in Canada on CBC and for free on CBC Gem in Canada. We are only in Canada at the moment. We are working on international distribution. We met with our distribution team last week. We've only aired 4 episodes in Canada. We are coming to you as soon as possible. There's been such a wonderful support for the show. I'm being asked about renewals and coming back. I can't say yet, but I just want you to know I'm really happy. Please keep supporting the show. Just do your thing. I don't want to say anything, but like, I'm in a good place.
You're like the worst secret keeper.
I'm in a good place. So as we wrap up, Chris, what are you working on now? Where can we see your comedy special?
Well, I'm working in the clubs again now that everything's opened up. So I'm at Comedy Bar in Toronto quite regularly. I'll be at Rumors in Winnipeg in March. The Crave special's coming out, I think, in the spring. Other than that, I'm just like you guys, grinding at home, trying to write stuff, create stuff, and yeah, what Sam was saying earlier about Andrew before I jumped on. Yes, he's editing scenes while in character in between takes. The dude's a workaholic. So he said all this nice stuff, but you guys have to understand, this guy's freaking working.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a workaholic in my humble opinion. And
Yeah,
there you go.
it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy.
No, it's good.
Unhealthy
Look what you made. It's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, you've had I think you've had an amazing year. Like you've gone from show to show, you're directing stuff. What are you working on next?
Yeah, people can, I guess this is the plug part where I say people can follow me on Instagram at @thesamantha1, and then you can just follow there because some things I are still in post-production, so I can't say yet. So you can follow me at @thesamantha1 there to see that stuff. But if you want to check out another thing that I just did, I did a podcast that I'm like, oh, I gotta remember to share this thing. It's called Quantum, and it's the cutest, funniest, weirdest narrative podcast about a post-apocalyptic thing with like these little kujus, which are these nuclear animals that we turned into really cute Furbies, but then are maybe breaking down and destroying the planet. It's a wild ride. It's called Quantum Pod. If you want to follow it, you could check that out as well.
Quantum Pod.
I forgot my podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You have a podcast, man.
I have a podcast with 2 really funny friends, James Harnett and Mike Balazzo, who are also writers behind the scenes in the comedy world as well. It's blowing up right now. It's called Evil Men. each episode we talk about a different evil man, but really it's an excuse for us to just get silly. So, sorry. And I have my own meditation podcast called Happy Good that people listen to calm down, but they end up usually just laughing all the time.
What?
No, you
Really?
really
Is
have
this
that?
true?
Yeah, ask Raki. Raki's into it. She checks it
Yeah,
out.
because Raki mentioned that one time. She mentioned, she's like, "You ever heard Chris's podcast?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And she's like, "It's really good." And I was like, "Oh, you're profoundly affected by this."
Yeah.
Like, she really hit her.
I made it at the beginning of the pandemic, so it's like, let's not think about anything dark or negative, but of course my imagination is insane, so it's mostly just for laughs, yeah.
I'm also seeing other people plug their podcast, The Burbays, which is the fan group for Run the Burbs. Please
Oh,
follow them on
nice.
social media, The Burbays. Mike Yuan has a podcast. He had a previous one about Kim's Convenience where they dissected every episode, and maybe at some point in the future he'll start dissecting Run the Burbs. I love creators, and we saw a lot of love for creators sticking together, and that's kind of how it's always been. I will leave you on my favorite Chris Lock story. He showed up to set one day with, you came in character and you were wearing this like hat. And I walked up to you and I'm like, "Oh shit, man, that hat is hilarious." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's mine." Like it was your hat from home.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing a hat right now, you can't tell, but if you've seen the show, I'm a bald guy. Yeah, we were filming in the blazing hot sun of Hamilton, Ontario, and I had to
Yeah.
protect my head, and I got a pretty floppy big bucket hat, yeah.
And with Sam, who plays Kathy Tan, the owner and purveyor of Bubble Bay Cafe, you don't know this, but whenever you were in a scene and I was like around, I'd always go up to the director and be like, "Hey, do we have time for Sam just to press the bubble tea sealer machine?" Because I felt like we had spent so much money. I had
Really?
fought so hard. Yeah, because it's like I remember production was like, "We don't need a bubble tea sealer machine." And I'm like, "No, you need a bubble tea sealer machine. It needs to be the machine that seals it." And so I made them buy it, and it was like $2,000. So every time you were in a scene, I'd always be like, "Hey, can Sam turn to the machine and seal it and bring it over?" And every single time I was like, "Oh, we don't have enough time in the scene. Like the episode's already running long. It's gonna end up getting cut." So I want to know the amount of times I pitched to directors and I couldn't even get it in. Like Andrew Phung, executive producer, co-creator, star, can't even get that. So it hurt me because like every time I'm in the edit, I'm like, "Look, Kathy Tan should have been fucking sealing a cup. Should have been sealing a cup, bringing it over."
There one time with Justin, we were like, "You gotta at least put it in and pretend to seal it." There wasn't even enough time to let it seal, so I would like put it in and be like,
But it's the best machine because for people who enjoy boba, like that's the joy of like you just want to see it work, and it's so cool because like I still don't get it.
It full on works, and every time Soraya and Roman are like, "Can we seal it?" And Duncan, our props person, is like, "That costs like X amount of dollars. No, you can't keep doing that."
No, man, I unseal it, I put it on, like I love it so much. So a couple stories for you too. I just so appreciate you so much. To everyone watching, Run the Burbs returns Wednesday, February 23rd at 8:30 on CBC, and for free on CBC Gem. We had to take a 3-week Olympic hiatus. Go Canada, go! But to our friends around the world, we will coming to you soon to Canada. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Go watch Chris Lock live. Go support Sam. Watch all the movies she directs. Go back and watch Second Gen. I don't know where you can watch it. Omni has it.
Omni, yeah, you can go to Omni TV. They have their own online thing. Second Gen, third season. You don't need to watch the rest. Watch the third season.
But there's something telling though in that because you're really proud of it, and I'm proud of you for that because it's like for two young Asian creators to find your voice. You said it. You're like, we found our voice by the third season, and that feels good, you know? Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, you guys
Miss
are
you guys.
awesome.
Bye.